I went back to work because I was afraid. And this is something I talk about a lot when I tell my story, is that I allowed fear to prevent me from doing what I was really supposed to be doing. Fear of the unknown. I had no idea what I would do if I walked away from this IT company I was building. Fear of letting people down. I had trumpeted to everybody I knew that I was going to be the next big thing. And what would that be like for me to admit that failure to essentially the whole world? And so I stuck it out for way longer than I should have, until finally I was just so miserable that I walked away from it. And so it was really when I took that step, when I had the courage to walk away, where things slowly and over time started coming into shape for me. I had no idea what I was doing. I joke a lot when I'm on stage and I talk about this, that if Instacart had existed in 2002, I don't know what I'd be doing today, because the moment that really started me changing things was when I went to the grocery store. And I had to, because there was no other way to get food back then. And so
Mhm.
I went to the grocery store, and I heard these two women talking about, I was just in an aisle and I overheard their conversation, freaking out about their teenage daughters on social media. And I've got this tech background, and so I interjected in their conversation, which is also something that was kind of uncharacteristic for me, to interrupt others. And I just said, hey, if you're thinking about keeping your family safe on the internet, you should think about X, Y, and Z. And their eyes got really big, and I freaked them out, which wasn't my intention at all. I was trying to be helpful. And they said, please come to our PTA, come speak to us. And so it's not like I was doing anything else with my time. I was just sitting alone in my home, wallowing in regret and poor choices. And that was the spark for me. That kind of started reframing things, where, because I wasn't asking for any money, and they probably wouldn't have given it to me even if I did. But I got to
Mhm.
speak to their PTA, and I put this whole PowerPoint presentation together on internet safety, and that became a thing for me. So I all of a sudden, there was a guy in that audience who was a cop on their city cybercrime division, and he said something to me. He said, "You're a really good speaker, Richard, and you can say things as a civilian that we as law enforcement can't." And all of a sudden now I'm on this speaking tour, going around talking to schools and informing parents and educators on things they need to do. And because social media was really starting to blow up at that time. There were no smartphones yet, but this was the big kind of concern that parents were having. And so one thing led to another. And at one of these schools, I was asked if I would be a mentor, because they had a lot of female mentors, but no male mentors. And so I said, sure. And they gave me a kid who was in the 7th grade, and he had a lot of problems. And I got to stick with him for a couple of years. And I'm not so arrogant as to say I'm the reason his life turned around, but I was certainly part of that change element. And that felt really exciting to me. And that gave me the courage to go back to graduate school after many, many years,
Uh-huh.
and became first a social worker, and then uh, go after my doctorate in clinical psychology, where I received advanced training in neuro and forensic psychology. And that really shifted everything for me. It was really that one moment. And so, really that one moment when I heard those people at the grocery store that put me on this path. So now I'm all of a sudden, I find myself in a total different life. I have essentially abandoned, the world of IT consulting that I had been in. I was a graduate student in my 30s, which was a little intimidating, because I was never like the greatest of students in undergrad and high school, other than I got into graduate school, and then I was doing really well. So got some confidence there, and just was really exciting. And I graduated and I got out. And so again, here I'm condensing essentially 10 years of my life into 2 minutes. But uh, as I was practicing as a psychologist, I felt like this is really cool. And I'm really grateful that I get to help people, but how can I go bigger? How can I do more? And so that's when I got the idea to start a podcast, and had no idea what would happen when I did it. But I wanted to build some neuroscience into my show's call to action, which is to encourage the listener to commit acts of kindness every day and post them in their social media feeds using the hashtag #MyDailyHelping. And one thing led to another. And now all of a sudden, we're in well over 130 countries. And uh, it's been mind blowing, because now I have this audience, and I'm so grateful for the stories that people have been sharing with me about how the podcast has helped them. But most importantly, it's given me a broader platform where I could do some things at an even greater scale to help people that I never could have done without the podcast. And
Yeah.
there's you know so like you said, persistence. It's just, yeah, it just continued to push, 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 and try and get out there. And then, got a lucky break when NBC got a hold of me and put me out there, and that's really when things started to blow up. So now every day of my life is dedicated to helping people become the best versions of themselves, even if it's of no direct benefit to myself. And that's kind of spiraled into a whole lot of different things. A nonprofit I have, a speaking career, and a technology company. Funny how things come full circle, right? Where we have assessment tools that help people find out their superpowers and live their best life.